Hello YouTube. So set 10 is just around the corner. At the time that I'm recording this, it'll be out in like 12 hours. As you can see, right, he's saying it's 5 a.m. local time. So get on that grind. We're gonna become set 10 challenger legends, all of us, okay? And how we're gonna do that? By playing flexibly. So let's open Dish Soap's thread here. I recommend you to just, follow Dish Soap, watch him on Twitch. I think he's like the easiest person to learn from. He's just good, smart player. And so he has general things that are important to climbing. And we're going to focus on one, but there's buy a headliner unit that fills your holes in your board. So it's better to buy a frontline headliner instead of Kate if you already have Kate pair. So as you don't know, headliners like Chosen from set 4, but you're essentially just buying a 2-starred unit. So sometimes you're going to really want Caitlyn because she's like your 4-cost carry. But if you find 2 normal Caitlyns while you're rolling, just buy a frontliner, right? Makes sense. At the same time, don't be greedy with which headliner you buy. So this is something we're going to talk about here. When rolling down, you should be willing to purchase 3 to 5 different headliners, units not even considering the trait. Examples completely fine to buy headliner Zach when you're playing disco, right? Zach's a bruiser, you guys might not know this, but yeah, he doesn't fit into your comp specifically, but he's a 4-cost tank that you can add very easily, and he's just a tank that will be 2-starred, right? You should play around it. And then 3, don't tunnel on getting a specific trait headliner. In general, traits that are set under, in general, the traits this set are undertuned at the mid levels, so like the middle of the ones, like 3 KD is pretty good, 9's pretty good, 5 is a little undertuned. So most of the headliner value is getting the 2-star. Don't keep your pentakill Nar just for 7 pentakill. Yeah, don't just AFK until 8 with a 1-cost headliner. So the point of a lot of these things is that you're going to want to consistently pivot your headliner, pivot your board, maybe not your entire board, but you're going to want to build a stronger board throughout the course of the game, right? You should be leveling to 6, 7, 8, and 9 and finding new headliners. Don't just keep the one you bought early. Be open to different ones. So that's kind of like the main point of this whole video. I'm going to be talking about kind of the main 4-cost champions and how you're going to want to play around them. Because yeah, there might be a patch where a certain 3-cost is good, right? Maybe Samir reroll is going to be the best in the game at one point. I can see that happening. Then sure, there's going to be a very particular way you want to play Samir reroll. You want to look for Samir specifically. That stuff's going to be hard and very specific because of the way headliners work. But I want to talk about general. You're leveling up, you're playing the strongest you can. Maybe you've realized you're in a low roll spot, you have to play for top 4. Maybe you realize you just found this super good unit, you're gonna play for like a top 1. And how are you gonna go about that, right? So essentially the way we do that is like Dish Soap said, you're gonna be kind of recycling your headliners and picking the strongest one. And then when you get to level 8 is when you can start finding 4-cost headliners. This is what we're gonna focus on here, right? So the number one thing to consider in this set, I think, is that the frontliners, when you're level 8, when you're rolling down for a new headliner, new board in general, it is so easy to get a good frontline, right? So let's see the big ones. Blitzcrank is one of them. Thresh is one of them. Zach is one of them, okay? Now, as you can tell, all 3 of these, none of them share a trait. But the nice thing is that all their traits kind of help each other, right? So we hover Bruiser, your whole team gains health, and then Bruisers gain more. Right, so you add, maybe Zach is your headliner with Bruiser. You don't need a second Bruiser, your whole team got the buff. But let's say you wanted an extra Bruiser, you can add Gragas, let's say, right? And the reason we're gonna add Gragas is because Gragas is 2/3 of Disco, Blitzcrank is 2/3 of Disco, makes it very easy to play Twisted Fate, right? Let's say you're rolling down and you find Twisted Fate headliner. You don't even need to find other Discos because your frontline will just build it, right? This is just one example, but you're gonna see this is very often the case. Also doesn't have to be Gragas, there's other examples, but I'm just trying to show examples of kind of these 3 being very easy to play around if you don't want to go like vertical Bruiser, vertical Sentinel, whatever. Now, Thresh. So let's just put another Bruiser in because why not? Also, all the 5 costs make this way easier, right? So you find an Alawi plus a Zach, you play that because they're just good units and they give your whole team Bruiser. So Thresh is a Guardian. Again, Guardian helps your other units, right? So once per combat at 50% health, Guardians shield themselves and their closest ally for % of their health. So you put Thresh in between Blitz and Alawi, he's helping your other frontliners, just if you get Guardian in. And the other thing, again, it's very easy to play around Guardians because Nico's a Guardian, and now you have a KDA unit, and guess what? There's a lot of KDAs. You find a Chosen Akali. Boom, you have 3 KDA. Hopefully you have some items for her. You find a Chosen Ari. Boom, you have 3 KDA. It's very easy. Maybe Nico's your Chosen KDA. Now you can play either Akali or Ari, whoever you find, right? And your whole team just gets a 3 KDA bonus because it's easy to play around the frontliner or a very specific backliner that you hit, and now it's easy to build your frontline around it, right? If we already have Gragas, Gragas is a Spellweaver. So if our Ari is giving us 2 out of 3 Spellweaver, or Gragas is giving us 1, we just buffed our whole team to give them AP. And a lot of these units use AP well, right? Even Blitzcrank uses AP very well, gets him tankier. Zach heals more the more AP he has. Point that I'm trying to hammer home here is that It's very easy to build a frontline, and you want to focus on good frontlines, right? So build good frontline items. Yes, all of these units might use a few items a little differently than each other, but you have like a Dragon Claw and a Warmogs. Just build it on, let's say you found a Chosen Zac, you give it to Zac, right? He's your 2 cost, you give him tank items. Yes, he might use some tank items better than others, but as I'm sure as you guys know, if you're long-term TFT players, frontline items tend to be much more flexible than backline items. Unless like a very specific comp like Chobe item or something. Like all of these guys can use Warmogs, whereas not all the 4 costs can use like Gwynsus. I mean, they can, but it's like significantly worse, right? So I hope you get what I mean there, right? So let's say, you know, we're building it again. We add a Guardian. We add our... maybe we didn't have Gragas, by the way. Or we didn't find Zac at all. So instead we're playing around Sentinel Guardian because we found these two. We add Echo. Guess what? He's also a Spellweaver and true damage. So we can play Spellweaver or true damage, right? Like the comps fit so well. It's very easy to kind of pivot and become a strong board if you have good frontline, because the frontline in this set feel very, very flexible. They synergize with each other well, and they have very good synergies for like other backline units. As we talked about earlier with like Blitzcrank and Gragas, there's Disco, right? It's easy to play TF, which also means you can play like Lux because she's a Dazzler. TF's a Dazzler if you guys don't know. But I hope you get the point. And if you play a Kali, she's an Executioner. You can also play, boom, Karthus. Let's say you hit Karthus Chosen. Now you have a Kali, and you want to play Pentakill. You might have to look for Yorick, but guess what? Yorick is a Guardian, and we already had a Guardian with our Thresh, right? These things fit together very nicely. These exact 3 units every game. Thresh, Zac. But you literally can, right? You can play Blitzcrank plus Echo. You can. This could literally be your frontline every single game. Okay, we'll add Gragas, and we will add Nico. I mean, it could be Mumu instead. And it is so easy to play around this. You have Disco for TF. You have Spellweaver for Ahri. You have EDM if you want to play Zed, or maybe instead of Nico, you played him because he's a Guardian as well. Well, now you have Emo, 1 out of 2 Emos, so you found a Poppy Chosen, you can give her items, right? I'm not going to go into every single combination possible. The main point of this video, like I said, is to talk about how flexible the frontline is, how you should be focusing on frontline items, because it's easier to it's just easier to play around a frontline Chosen. I'm not saying you should play around a frontline Chosen all the time, but you should be open to it, as we see here. You know, like this shop said, when rolling down, you should be willing to purchase 3 to 5 headliners, right? So let's say my goal this game, I found so many tiers. I found like, I already slammed a Gunblade for one reason or another. Okay, I want to play around Ahri, right? I really want to find Chosen Ahri, but like, spoiler, you're going to roll down at 8 all the time. You're not going to find Chosen Ahri every time you want to, because like, as I said, you know, you slammed Blue Buff, you slammed Jewel Gauntlet. There's not that many units that can use this. You might not find Chosen Ahri. So you're rolling down 50 gold at level 8, you hit level 8, you roll down 50 gold. Maybe you find a natural Ahri, maybe you find 2, you didn't upgrade her yet. Just play that and buy the Chosen Blitzcrank, buy the Chosen Thresh, buy the Chosen Zac. Buy the 5 costs you find that are frontline, because they also just fit with all these, right? Your Bruiser is here, your Guardian is here, Sentinel doesn't have one, you're gonna need Echo. But in general, you're gonna want Echo in this case because he's a Spellweaver with Ahri. And I hope you get my point. I don't wanna kind of lay down the same idea over and over, but you really, really want to focus on these 3 units in one way or another. You don't have to build all 3, but just be aware of how easy it is to flex around them. So the 4 costs in general I want to talk about, because they're all going to be it's going to be a very popular way to play the game, is to go to level 8, play around 4 costs until you can finally hit 9, 10, and then play around the 5 costs. As I mentioned Ahri already, I like her a lot. She's easy to play around. It also lets you play a Kali if you slam some AD items. A Kali does hold AD items in this game, which is very nice. And then you get KDA, you just add Nico. She's a Guardian with Thresh. Boom, you have KDA, you have a 4 cost AD, a 4 cost AP, easy. Let's talk about some other ones. Caitlyn. So Caitlyn is something I don't really recommend pivoting into unless you absolutely have to. Let's say you slam some AD items, you wanted to play Ezreal, but instead you found Chosen Caitlyn or something. Yeah, you can play it. The problem is that the 8-bit trait, as we see here, it keeps score of the damage you dealt, and it goes up and up and up. So the earlier you've played 8-bit, the better it is. If you've at level 8 is the first time you put an 8-bit, your Caitlyn will just straight up do less damage than someone who found it early and they played around like Corki Garen. But either way, in this comp, you just add Garen. He's a Sentinel, he's an 8-bit, easy. If you want to 8-bit Chosen, and now you want to go to 4 8-bit, you know, you just add one more, it could be Corki, probably Riven because she's a frontliner. It's much better, right? So you would have 4 8-bit here if you found like Chosen Caitlyn. But even if you didn't, let's say you found Chosen Rapid Fire Caitlyn, you just want to add 1 splash for 8-bit, well, Garen synergizes well with Blitzcrank. As I said, it's very easy to find synergistic like comps with the Frontlines in this set, which is great. Just keep your eyes on these 3 champions. So Caitlyn, there you go. Ezreal. Ezreal doesn't like necessarily fit with anything, which almost makes it easier to play around him because you just play literally anything. He's a Heartsteel, which is like the kind of econ trait. Let's say you found a Chosen Ezreal and he's Heartsteel, you just want to add it for econ, you add Set. Set is a bruiser, fits nice with Zac. He's also a Mosher, so you could play Poppy frontline. Boom, all fits together. Poppy in general is pretty easy to play around, I think, as well, but maybe I should add her to this list. Instead of it just being these 3, it should be these 4, because she is also a 4-cost tank, but she seems more of like the carry than just the raw tank. I think if you do give items to Poppy, you care more about like a comp around Poppy rather than her just being a frontliner, whereas these guys can all kind of just be frontliners. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have much experience with Poppy. Maybe I'll have to edit this video in the future. Zed, you find Chosen Zed, very easy to play around if you already found Zac, so you roll down, you bought them. You have EDM. You can add more EDM if you like. Jax is here, he's a Mosher. You can give items to Poppy, she's also a Mosher. Better yet, you could find Yorick, who's a Mosher, on your roll down if you get lucky. Easy. Zed's a crowd diver, so you might have to pick those up as well. But again, you find a random Zed, even if you just... This is literally the only thing on your board when you roll down and you find Zed. Boom, you have EDM. It's like you can play around Zed. It might not be the best Zed board ever, but as you're trying to stabilize, you found a Chosen Zed, you can play around him. Or you found a Chosen Zac, you built 80 items because you'd rather play around a Akali. Sure, give Zed the items for now because you have a Chosen Zac until you eventually find your Akali too. And then maybe you'll end up selling your Zac when you go to 9 or 10. Just random examples. Now, you might be asking, there's more examples. We already talked about TF. He's a Disco with Blitzcrank, so you might have to add, like a Gragas or just any frontline in general to get the Disco if you really care about the attack speed, which you might because this helps your frontline and your backline, the Disco trait. Or you can just add Nami because she's also a Dazzler, just as a filler bot, just to give your TF Dazzler, because maybe the Chosen trait was Disco. So you just want to add a Dazzler. It could be Nami, better yet, it could be Lux, who now focuses with your EDM, and then you give Lux Zac's EDM, which makes your Zac cast more, makes your Lux cast Zac ult, gives you more CC. It all fits together beautifully, right? But yeah, I'm not going to talk about literally every single champion. We talked about Akali a little bit. And then the 5 costs, maybe I'll make a new video on it eventually. It's a little harder to get to 9. They added like 8 XP or something throughout the beta, the PBE, sorry. But yeah, hope you get my point here. I think these 3 units are maybe I'm exaggerating, but I genuinely believe there's an argument that they're kind of the 3 most important units. Not in most important, but like the easiest to play around and feel good about it, right? And the big reason for that is, 1, they're easy to play around, as I just said. It's so easy to fit in 2-2-2 and then backliners. Also, I forgot to mention that Sentinel gives your whole team RMR. So like literally Thresh helps these other 2 by giving them shield. Zac helps your whole team by giving your whole team health. Blitz helps your whole team by giving your whole team armor MR, assuming you do 2 Sentinel, 2 Bruiser, 2 thing. You don't always have to do it. Again, it's flexible, but it's easy to play around them. You can feel good about buying a Chosen of any of these 3, which is the big thing I want to talk about, because items, right? So in this video here, Baby talks about what he thinks is best in slot on pretty much every unit. I mean, maybe this can change obviously as the game gets more figured out, but I think I agree for the most part with a lot of them. And as you'll notice, it's not like that flexible. Like there's not a single other unit in the 4 cost category that will use blue buff optimally, except maybe Ezreal he has. Yeah, like I don't know if that's actually true. I imagine it is. His mana cost is like 40 or 30, I don't remember. But yeah, what if you don't find Ahri? Like you slam these items and you don't find Ahri, then you're gonna have to play around those front lines. And you find Thresh Chosen, you buy it. You find Blitz Chosen, you buy it. You find Zac Chosen, you buy it. Even if you find like a Nico, you might buy it because it's easy to play around KDA with Ahri. So even though you slam these items, yes, you can play around Ahri, but you're gonna have to be more comfortable building a 2-star Ahri naturally. If you hit the Chosen Ahri, of course, you buy it and you play around it. But if you hit a frontline, you might have to, you know, make your 2-star Ahri more naturally, because like if you just greed on only finding Ahri Chosen, you're gonna be stuck with these shitty items and no one to hold them. Or not shitty, but shitty for everyone else. Like Shojin, maybe you slam Shojin, then you're a little more flexible, right? Kate can use it very well, Karthus can use it, Ezreal can kind of use it, even Ahri can use Shojin. It's not her best, but Ahri with blue buff or Shojin will always take 2 autos to cast, but she'll do more damage with blue buff. TF uses Shojin, right? So that's a little more flexible. Same with Archangels. Ahri uses Archangels very well. I agree, because the fights take a bit longer than they did last set. And yeah, so some items are flexible depending on what you built, but yeah, I just kind of want to get the point across that it's easy to flex around your front line, especially when you find chosens, and not kind of tunnel single chosen backlines. That's a mistake I made on PB a lot. I would slam Ari items, and I'm like, okay, I'm level 8, 60 gold. Surely I have so much money, I'll find chosen Ari, and I just wouldn't pick up anything else that was like playable, but not Ari, because I wanted to play chosen Ari. And I don't think you can play the game like that. You'll lose way too much money. Sometimes you just won't find it. And yeah. Hope you learned something about set 10 forecasts, which I think will be a very, very big part of the game unless you become a 1-cost, 2-cost reroller. Who knows how it goes. But overall, I think these are fundamentals that will transfer to any patch. Maybe Ari's complete dog shit one patch. That doesn't change the fact that you have frontline traits to build around, right? If you learned something, I appreciate a like, comment, and subscription. Let me know anything else you guys want to see for set 10. I'll be grinding the set and letting you know any info I come across. Stay beautiful, my friends. We will all climb starting tomorrow.